video, I will show you some tips on how to work with our Treaty Treat dog fondant. The first thing you want to do is measure according to the package, and what I did here was I pre-measured 1 cup of fondant. And if you look at the package directions, it tells you to add 2 tablespoons of water to 1 cup of fondant. So that's what I'm doing here. And then what you're going to do is take a hand mixer, or you can do it by hand, but you just want to do just a little bit of mixing in order to get the fondant moistened. And then what you're going to do is knead it with your hands so that it'll form a nice ball of dough. Takes a little bit just to moisten it up. And you want to keep going. You don't want to add any more water because it will make your fondant too wet. Okay, so it is crumbly. It's almost like a pie dough, actually. And you'll see when I pick it up that it's crumbly. That aside. But then it just forms like this. So basically, I don't know if you can see if it's very flaky in the bowl. But as you work with it, it just pulls together. So what I'm going to do is just grab the entire thing for you, the best I can. I'm trying to do this on a quicker time scale so that you're not watching this video all night long. Okay, that's pretty good. And then you just want to knead it in your hands for a little while. And you'll notice that it is sticking to my gloves just a little bit. If it's really sticking to your gloves a lot, you want to dust it with a rice flour or a fine-grained flour. We usually include a little bit of rice flour in your package for you in case you want to use it and you don't have any. The reason why we use rice flour is because all of our products are gluten-free. So I'm going to dust my parchment paper, or you can use any sort of counter surface that you'd like. Just a light dusting will do, and then I'm going to take a little bit. And I do have a fondant rolling pin. You can use any rolling pin you want. I just prefer to have a small one. I'm going to put this on the flour, and I'm going to start rolling it. And every once in a while, you do just want to flip it over, and you can keep going until you're thin as you want to be. For these purposes, for just demonstration purposes, I'm going to go a little bit thicker. Now, if your fondant starts sticking to your rolling pin or to the parchment paper, you do want to add a little bit more flour. And that will help it to not stick on you. It takes a little bit of practice, but you'll get used to it. It's very simple and it's a lot of fun. It's almost like working with Play-Doh. So that's a nice consistency. And now what I'm going to do is, instead of covering a cake with fondant, it takes a little bit too long for me to do anyways, I'm going to use some cookie cutters and I'm going to make little accents for you to see the fondant. Now, a lot of people will just make accents for their cakes with fondant and add it to them that way. Now what I did was I did a paw print, and what I'm going to do is decorate it. I also did a heart, and normally what I would do is let these dry overnight and then apply some of our Treaty Treat icing. But for this demonstration, I pre-mixed the icing, and we're just going to do it while our fondant is wet. So I'm just going to do the dog paw with black, and I did do the icing with our all-natural black icing coloring. You can add color to the fondant and knead it with your hands until it colors throughout the dough. That does take a little while to do. I highly recommend that you wear gloves while you do that because the food coloring will stain your hands. So don't forget that important tip. And then I'm taking a green to just kind of do a little bit on the heart just to make it pop. And I messed it up a little bit, but you get the idea. This will dry with the icing on it within 12 hours to 24 hours. And the best thing to do is to apply it to your cake while your cake frosting is wet. This way it sticks right to the actual cake. Another nice little thing I'm going to show you is fondant and candy molds. What this is they're just a bunch of balloons together. There's all sorts of candy molds out there that you can use. These I enjoy because I like to put them on dog birthday cakes, and I go in after the fondant dries overnight. You just flip over the candy mold and they fall right out. And then I take different colors for the balloons, and I like to do that on the birthday cake to add a little bit of color. In order to do this, you just take some fondant and you roll it into a little bowl, or ball, I should say, and you just gently press it in to your candy mold. But what you're going to do, and what I've already done here, was I sprinkled a little bit of rice flour on it. You can use any flour. If you out of flour, you can use cornstarch, anything you want, just to spread on the bottom of the candy mold. And then what I'm going to do is just press it in to the mold, and I will let it dry overnight. Tomorrow morning I will come in, turn it over, and it'll pop right out for me, and then I can add my colors to it. Kind of make it a little bit flatter. So you can see that the fondant is going to turn into the shapes of the balloons. I hope these fondant tips have helped you. And if you have any other questions, you can look at our frequently asked questions on our website, which is www.pastries4pets.com.